Warwick looked at the outside of the studio and took a long drag from his cigarette before heading in. This was it. This was where the breadcrumbs led. This was the hive. At least he hoped it was. Warwick had thought the hive might be at Strag View, but apparently the place was harder to get into than most military prisons. Warwick could have practically strolled naked into Leavenworth before he could get an audience with the warden of Strag View. And when he'd finally gotten in, it hadn't been good news. The place stood in the hills of Appalachia, a small town called Kashmir sitting catty-corner to the facility, and Warwick had never felt closer to death than he had walking through these gates. A sergeant had escorted him, some guy with a thick mustache and arms like tree trunks, and the inmates had kept their distance. They mostly just stared at him, taking in his coat and his suit and sussing out that he was from the feds, and none of them had been in a real hurry to go anywhere near him. He had gone to the tower in the center of the compound and met with the enigmatic warden, but it hadn't gotten him much. Thomas Murphy was dead, put to death by lethal injection about 6 months ago. Apparently, when the taxpayers of the great state of Georgia paid for speedy justice, they got it. There had been no appeals from Mr. Murphy, no attempts to fight his sentence, and he had gone to death row so that he could be executed a few months later. The warden told him all about it as he stroked the ugliest orange cat that Warwick had ever seen. The poor thing looked like lethal injection might be the kindest thing they could do for it, and it eyeballed him with as much hostility as the warden did. The ruler of this little prison was all smiles as he talked, but his eyes were cold chips of flint that seemed to ask why Warwick would dare encroach on his territory. "It was nothing special, Agent Warwick, and I hate that you had to come all the way here just to hear about it. We housed him, we prepared him, he was led to the death house, the needle was inserted, and he died. No muss, no fuss, just a successful execution." "Any witnesses to this execution?" Warwick had asked. "None," the warden stated. "I suppose the parents of those girls were just ready to move on." "Are any of the guards who participated in this execution still here?" The warden's smile had grown, making him look a little like the creatures that had told Warwick to leave it alone. But his eyes were full of hate and suspicion. "Agent Warwick, I do hope you are not implying that I would be anything other than truthful with a representative of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I might be inclined to take offense to that." "None was meant," Warwick said, applying a little charm before his bridge was burnt. "I was merely curious about his state of mind and being. Guards so often talk to inmates more than the warden, and I was hoping to understand Mr. Murphy a little better." That seemed to assuage some of the warden's anger. "I'm afraid they have all left not long after that execution. This job tends to fluctuate in its retention. They either stay till retirement or they leave after a few months. Unfortunately, these men were of the latter variety." Warwick had left then, unsatisfied, but unlikely to get any more answers. The warden was clearly hiding something, but Warwick wasn't going to get much more out of him but excuses. If this was the hive, then the Smiling Devils could have it. This place would be better as a smoking crater, and nothing of value would be lost if they took it. Besides, Warwick didn't think it was where they planned to make their move. He was pretty sure what they meant to do was make their big break in pictures. Before he left the psychiatric facility, Warwick had checked with the head of the facility about the incident that Doc had described. He had confirmed that the event had taken place, but he apparently didn't think it was a big deal, at least not as big a deal as Doc had. It was just another day for the facility and the staff. "It happens more than you might expect. The TV can be a blessing and a curse sometimes, and you just never know what's going to set them off. That day, it happened to be a children's television show. Have you ever had something set all of them off at once? He had thought about it. I suppose it's rare, but I guess anything is possible. Anything in this case was a children's show involving puppets. Puppets that resembled the grinning fiends that were haunting the mentally troubled so frequently these days. So now he had come to the source, and he had questions for the ones peddling this garbage. TomboiTopUwU was one of the biggest kids shows on the market right now, and the idea that the smiling horrors had gotten their claws into it was terrifying. 1 8-hour plane ride later, and an hour spent with a tired and unhelpful car rental employee, and Agent Warwick was pulling up to the set of TomboiTopUwU. His credentials had gotten him onto the lot, but it was the argument that he walked into that made him positive he had found the right place. The door slammed open, missing him by inches, and an angry man with a long ponytail nearly ran straight into him as he turned to yell over his shoulder. "You tell Julia that I don't care how many awards this show is up for. I'm not staying on this set another—" But he stopped when he noticed the suited man that he had nearly slammed into. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't see you there." "Everything okay?" Warwick asked, looking behind him as if expecting to see the man being followed. "Much better now that I'm quitting this." He flapped a hand behind him at the still open door. "Thing. I tried to be a good sport about it, but I'm done. I can't take it anymore." "I'm actually here to speak with a Julie Mars. Do you know where I can find her?" The man blew out a breath dismissively. "In her office, I would wager. She never comes out anymore, just stays there all day and does whatever it is she does. Good luck with whatever it is you're here to do, but I doubt that Julie will be of any help." Agent Warwick watched him go, but his attention was stolen by the fantastic set pieces that he suddenly walked into. It was like they had built a whole theater in here, and he could see the orchestra pit with its cadre of suited animals, and the rooms where the players lived, and even the attic and the basement where some of the ghost scenes were shot. He was looking at it all in awe when his eyes landed on something that brought him up short. In the corner of a large room, lamp flickering a little on the desk, were a trio of grinning shadows. They hung there, just smiling into the void, and they gave Warwick a definite chill. What the hell were those things doing in a kid's show, he wondered. He had seen some pretty messed up things on children's programming when he was younger, but the sight of these guys would have been enough to haunt his dreams indefinitely. "Sir?" someone asked, and he turned away a little guiltily. "I'm sorry, but this is a closed set. Do you have some business here?" "Agent Warwick," he said, showing his credentials. "I'm here to speak with Julie Mars." The woman seemed a little surprised, but not overly so. "Yes, please, come with me." She led Warwick away from the stage, but they didn't seem to be going towards the offices on the second floor. The woman was leading him deeper into the backstage, and Warwick felt like others might be close behind them. He didn't know what this was, but Warwick was pretty up on his hand-to-hand. If this was some sort of ambush, they'd find him a little harder to take down than they might think. She led him into a break room, somewhere likely used for changing, and the 3 men waiting for them did not inspire confidence. 2 of them were rail thin, one of them with a cigarette poking between his nearly non-existent lips, but the other one was a rotund fellow with sweat stains under his arms. His mustache looked drawn on, the way certain aunts will with their eyebrows, and they all looked up when Warwick and the woman entered. "What is this?" Warwick asked, looking around. "I need to speak with Julie. It's very important that "We need to have a word with you first," said the woman. "My name is Terry. I do the payroll and the human resources for the production. This is Carlos, the one with the cigarette." He lifted a hand. "Jean," he had raised a hand as well, "and Wallace," she said, indicating the portly man. "Wallace writes the scripts, and Jean and Carlos are puppeteers. We wanted to speak with you before you spoke with Julie." Warwick looked around, not sure what to make of all this. "Well, say your piece then. I'm not with the labor union, I don't control your pay rate, and I can't help you personally if you feel your workplace is unsafe. That being said, I will listen and pass it on to the proper channels." Gene rolled his eyes. "I told you this was a waste of time, Terry. He's not going to believe us anyway." "I might," Warwick said. "You might be surprised what I would believe. Is this..." He hesitated, trying to decide if he could trust them. "Does this have something to do with the smiling shadows?" All four of them turned to him, startled, but not in the usual way they did when he mentioned the shadows. They looked like they not only believed him, but that they knew what he was talking about. Have you seen them?" Carlos asked, scooting a little closer. "Have you spoken to them?" Gene asked, looking like a kid who's just realized his therapist can see the monsters too. "I have," Warwick said, nodding. "And they have. I believe they might be here now, using this show to get their message out, and I need to speak with Julie about it so we can fix the problem." Wallace scoffed. "Then you're wasting your time, friend. Julie would sooner pull her own eyes out than cancel the show. The show must go on, she always says, and we suspect that they've gotten to her." Warwick took a seat, pulling out a pad of paper. "Start at the beginning. Why do you think the shadows are using her?" Gene and Carlos looked at each other, and when Carlos shrugged, Gene started talking. "The muses are what they're called on the show. They give ideas to Carlos's character, Gus. They help him make music so that the show can be saved. But lately, the muses have been talking to all of us and damaging things they shouldn't. They break my puppets, they whisper to me when I'm all alone in the puppet room. They give me terrible nightmares." "It's the headaches, too," Carlos broke in suddenly. "I tell the doctor it's the stress, but it's the constant laughing I can hear in the deepest recesses of my brain. I can't sleep without hearing it. I can't work without hearing it. Sometimes I find myself laughing along with it before I catch myself." Warwick nodded. "Have any of you actually seen one of them? And not the puppets, I mean the real ones." "I've seen them," Wallace said. "Sometimes I come back to the writer's room and I catch a glimpse of them before they scamper. There's nothing to them but shadows and teeth, and it's never more than a glance. Sometimes I can swear I hear laughing, too. It always happens before a major script change. Thankfully, I've caught it before it can go live." "What sort of changes?" Warwick asked. "They want to add things that would not make it past the censor board. This leads me to believe that Julie doesn't intend to ask. The season finale is coming up, and she won't share the script with us. They're going to do the show live, and her little sycophants are keeping us from stopping it." "That's the strangest part," Terry said, seeming to have remembered. "If someone doesn't agree with her, she takes them into her office, and they suddenly have nothing but good things to say about the show. They also have big smiles on their faces that seem painful." Warwick nodded, closing his notebook. "I think I have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. I want to thank you for stopping me before I could speak to her. Sounds like her influence has entrenched itself here." "What will you do?" Terry asked. "I need to speak with my supervisors, but I want to help you. Is there something you can do to stop the live show? Anything at all?" "We're preparing to do it," Carlos said. "You may hear about it before long. Needless to say, we won't be part of this travesty." Warwick nodded. "I need contact information from each of you. I also need a way out of here, where I won't be spotted." They traded information, and Terry took him to a back door. He carefully rounded the set and made his way back to his car. Warwick had work to do, and not a lot of time to do it.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague.
Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.